Hello everyone, my name is Patil and I'm pleased to present my synthesis report for course CM710. My synthesis topic is the changing landscape of modular dormitories, construction trends and adoption over the years. Today's modular construction isn't an alternative, it's becoming the preferred strategy for delivering a faster, smarter and more sustainable dormitory housing. The study explores how the modular dormitories have evolved over the time, the key factors driving the adoption, and why they're reshaping the housing across education, military, and workforce sectors. Before I begin, I would like to thank Dr. Jinok Choi for his support, guidance throughout this project. Here is a quick roadmap of this presentation. We'll begin with a short abstract and key objectives that guided the study. I'll then introduce the topic why modular dormitory construction matters and how it's evolving. Next, I will walk you through the literature review on its highlights, what past research says, followed by its methodology I use to collect and analyze the data from the real world modular dormitory projects. The core of this presentation focus on the results, trends, its adoptions, its performance comparison, sustainable data, and its key drivers. Finally, we will wrap it up with main conclusion, my academic and research contributions, close with its reference. By the end of this, I hope to offer not just findings but also insights into where modular dormitory construction is heading next. Moving to the abstract of the synthesis report. The study looks at how modular construction has moved beyond temporary fixtures to become a key solution for building modern dormitories across education, workforce, emergencies, and military sectors. By blending academic research, market analysis, and real world project data of 45 modular dormitories, I examined that regional growth, public versus the private sector use, and why modular methods are outperforming traditional constructions. The findings show how strong rise in model dormitory projects over the last decades, driven by faster delivery times, sustainable goals, flexible design needs. Ultimately, this study will not only track the model growth, but also the highlights how these solutions are shaping the future of housing across the multiple industries. So moving forward, the main objective of the study was to explore how dormitory construction is being adopted and where it's making the biggest impact. First, I aim to identify which US industries and regions are leading in modular dormitory adoption. Next, I examined how different sectors like education, military, workforce housing are using modular approach. I also compared adoption patterns between public and private institutions to see how their priorities and challenges differ. Another key focus was to understand what drives this adoption. Factors like speed, is it a cost efficiency, sustainability, or design flexibility? And finally, the study looks ahead to predict the future trends and how the modular construction might evolve in the smarter and greener technologies. Dormitories today isn't just about the beds and bricks. They are about the speed, sustainability, and smart construction. Traditional methods are struggling to keep it up, rising the cost, labor shortage, urban housing demands. This is where the modular construction is changing the game. It delivers faster, uses fewer resources, reduces the waste, and meets the stricter environmental standards. What's stated as a temporary housing is now built for long-term durability, energy performance, and its comfort. More and more universities, workforce, developers, and military institutions are adopting modular approaches to meet urgent needs without compromising its quality. The study connects the data to 45 dormitory projects with academic insights, uncover the modular in engaging ground, what driving adoptions, and where are they heading next. In short, the model dormitories are not just a backup plan, they are becoming the blueprint of the future. When looking at how modular dormitories have evolved, I wanted to understand not just what's happening, but why it's working and what is holding it back. I started with evolution of modular dorms, how they moved from basic temporary structures to high-performing permanent housing. Then I looked to the performance comparisons with traditional construction. Modular buildings now complete and often outperform in speed, cost control, and even occupant comfort. Next, I focused on the key drivers behind the adoption, things like faster timelines, labor efficiencies, sustainability goals, and flexible design options. But the literature also pointed out some challenges like transportation logistics, early design block, and regulatory hurdles that can slow down those things. Finally, I explored future trends, especially the rise of smart modular systems, net zero energy goals, and automated offsite productions. Although this review helped me to shape the core of my study, it showed not just what is possible with the modular DOMs, but also what it's going to be next. So to build a strong foundation for my study, I first looked at where the modular dormitories started and how they changed over the time. Evolution of the modular dormitories in the early days, modular dorms were mainly built for temporary needs like workforce, camps, military bases, but with better materials, installations, and sustainabilities designs. They evolved into durable permanent housing solutions, especially in education. The performance compared to the traditional construction, where we compared modular to traditional dorms. The advantages are clear. Modular dorms are built 30 to 50% faster than they are more efficient and energy efficient, and they create less disruptions at the site. And importantly, studies show that the student satisfaction just as high, if not better, in modular dorms. Once I understood the history and the performance of the modular dorms, I wanted to explore what really drives the adoption and what challenges still stand in the way. Moving at the key drivers and its adoption, one big reason is speed. Modular dorms can be delivered much faster than a traditional building. Sustainability is the major factor as institutions push greener buildings and LEED certifications. Lastly, growing demand of flexible and scalable housing, something modular designs handles really well. Challenges and barriers, yeah, but of course, there are some still obstacles. Moving large modules requires complex transportation and crane planning. Also, design has to be finalized early in modularization construction, which limits the flexibility later. And different regional codes and approvals can also slow down the process and add some extra layers to the work. Looking at the future trend, we are seeing smart modular systems and automated manufacturers become more common. There is also a shift towards net zero and low carbon DOMs, and more institutions are inviting hybrid modularization strategies, combining the field components with the site work. Here, I didn't just look at the stats, I followed the path to really understand what's going on. First, I gathered the real time project data from the modular dormitory projects. Then, I dug into the research for more literature review and see what experts are saying. After organizing everything, I started spotting the patterns, where modular is going, who is using it, and why, and who are the key drivers for this project. And finally, I connected those dots to predict where all this is heading to. To explain how I carried out this study, I began with project data collection using 45 modular dormitory projects from database and web sources. Next came a literature review where I looked at the journals, reports, and understand the drivers and their challenges. Then I moved to the data cleaning and its organization to standardize everything for a fair compensation. I followed the regional and secretarial adoption analysis, looking at the trends of the region and between the public and private sector. After that, I worked for identification of key adoption drivers such as speed, its cost efficiency, whether it's sustainable or not. And finally, I used all this trend to trend forecasting, projecting how modular dorms construction might evolve in while moving forward. Now, this slide outlines the key findings of the modular dormitory analysis. First is the regional adoption trend where modular dorms are mostly used. Second is the growth of the modular dormitory adoption, how it's increased over the time. Third is the public versus private adoption, which is a comparison of who is going to adopt faster. Fourth is the key drivers of adoption, things like speed and its sustainability. Fifth is the sustainability certification achieved across the project. And finally, the challenges and barriers still affecting the adoption. So here was the data which really showed me after going through all the 45 projects. First, when it comes to the location, most of the modular dams are popping up in the East Coast, especially in New York and Massachusetts. California is the mix too, but the East is very leading. Second is the adoption has growth a lot. Especially in the last few years, modular dorms aren't just backup anymore. They are becoming serious go-to situations and solutions. Third, I looked at the private and public use. Private schools and developers are slightly ahead, but public universities are starting to adopt it too, especially with the tight budgets and rising student demands. Fourth, the main reason of people to go for modular were really clear. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more flexible, and it helps to meet sustainability. Fifth, a lot of projects actually achieved certifications like LEED, Step Code 4, or Zero Energy Ready, which shows that they are not just fast builds but also eco-friendly and future-focused. And finally, this challenge is moving big modules around it is always an easy task. Transportation and cranes are a big factor. Also, because of modular needs, designs locked early. There is a less room for changes later, and navigating all those different building codes across the region adds more complexity. So these are some graphs and pie charts which shows our results very well. So as you could see, the first one is the map, the regional adoption trend. The map shows where the modular dorms were being built the most. As we know, it's the East Coast clearly leads. The New York, Virginia, and Massachusetts are standing out. There is still some presence on the West Coast, but the Northeast is at the hotspot. Second is the line graph, which shows a trend of modular dormitory projects from 2010 to 2024. This graph shows how modular dorms have been grown over the time. After 2020, you could see a big jump, which was because of pre-COVID situations. Third is the bar chart, which shows the business drivers for modular dormitory construction. This chart breaks down the top reasons why people are choosing modular. Speed is the number one, followed by the cost saving and flexibility and sustainability. Fourth is the pie chart, which shows the sustainability certifications which have been achieved. The pie chart shows how green these projects really are. Step code 4 leads, but many of them also earned a lead and zero energy and energy ready. Also earned Energy Star certification. So it's not just fair; it's sustainable too. So to bring everything together, after looking out for the data trend, and here's what really stood out. Modular dormitory construction isn't just a backup option anymore. It's now a real growing strategy for building student workforces, military housings. The big reasons are clear. It's faster than traditional methods and it supports sustainability goals and it allows for more flexibility designs. Regionally, the East Coast is leading the charge, but there is a growth happening in California and even parts of Canada for overseas. Both private and public sectors are getting on board with the private slide slightly ahead because it can move faster and adapt designs more easily. A lot of these projects are also going green with certifications like Step 4, LEED, Zero Energy, readily showing a strong focus on energy efficiency. And going forward, modular construction has real potential to shape the future of housing. It's because it's scalable, acceptable, and alignable with the sustainability goals. Let me walk you through what this study contributed both academically and from the research background. On the academic side, I started by organizing a clear overview of how modular dorms have evolved from short-term use to permanent housing. I looked at main reasons why institutions are adopting them, things like faster delivery, lower cost, more flexibility. I also explored how green certifications like LEED, Steep Code 4 are becoming more common in these projects. Then I compared adoption patterns and found that the East Coast and the public sectors of projects are leading. And lastly, I connected the modular dorms used beyond just the student into military and workforce are using too. On the research side, I built a data set for 45 modular dorm projects from MBI and web sources. Over 60% of those were being used by public institutions. I mapped out these projects are concentrated with East Coast standing out. Around 40% of these projects has at least one green certification and finally, I looked ahead at the trends like similar modular systems, BIMUs, and net zero design targets. To close, there are main resources I refer to throughout this research. They include academic journals, industry reports, and data sources that help me to shape and analyze the support for findings I shared. That brings me to the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you have any questions or thoughts, I would be happy to answer them. Before I wrap it up, I just have one question for you guys. If UNLV built new modular dorms, what features would you think you want inside? And what do you think about traditional buildings still feel much better than the modular construction or not? Thank you.